My name is Ken Spector from livingecho.com, and I'm here today with Leilani Munter, who is a race car driver and is also known as Carbon Free Girl. Hey, Leilani.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. So tell me a little bit about how you got the name Carbon Free Girl, or how you established that website and that name.
Well, I started racing many years ago. I've been racing for 9 years now. And in 2006, when I sort of started to talk publicly about my environmental concerns, I added a section to my racing website, which was just leilanimunter.com at the time. And I just kind of posted, the latest in what was going on in the world of green. And I started to realize, you don't really want to come across like you're lecturing people. And I realized that, I had maybe a lot of race fans going to my website that maybe just wanted to hear about my racing. And I didn't want to be bombarding them with all of this environmental stuff. I wanted it to be their choice to see that if they wanted. So a couple years ago, I separated the eco stuff from the racing stuff, and now when you land on my website, you can choose to either view my racing material and go into leilanimunter.com, or you can choose to go into Carbon Free Girl, which is where I talk about the things that I'm doing to go green, what I'm doing at my house, my composting and my rainwater collection and my solar, and I talk about the latest events that I'm at, like we're here at Opportunity Green today at UCLA. So I've kind of separated them because I don't want to, you don't want to come across too preachy, because that's a good way to turn people off. So I give them a choice of if they want to hear about my eco stuff or not.
Has anyone ever said that you're too preachy?
No, but I think, when you're in the public eye and when you're an athlete and when you're really carrying the flag for something, it can appear that way. So you got to be careful how you do it. I don't want to come across like that, because that's not what I mean. I'm just trying to set a good example, and I'm just kind of sharing what I'm doing. I'm sharing that I'm composting. I'm sharing that I'm recycling. I'm sharing about my solar. I just went to go visit a solar thermal farm in the Mojave Desert, and I'll post about that. Visited a wind turbine farm in Texas earlier. I'll talk about Opportunity Green. I'll talk about some of the latest movies that I've seen, like The Cove, which is a wonderful film that won the Sundance Film Festival documentary. And I just talk about those things, and if people are interested in them, great. But I'm not trying to shake my finger at anybody or tell them they can't eat meat. I'm just talking about where I eat as a vegetarian, and hope that some of it rubs off, and they see that I'm having a good time doing what I'm doing, and maybe they'll join me.
So you are a vegetarian. Have you ever thought of going vegan or tried going vegan? Or
I have. I was vegan in college for a while after I read a book by John Robbins called Diet for a New America. And I don't eat a lot of dairy, but if it's mixed in something, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm not in a place like LA here where there's vegan restaurants everywhere. In fact, I don't think there is a vegan restaurant in Charlotte at all. So it's a little bit more difficult to be vegan there. It's getting easier and easier to be vegetarian. There's all kinds of meat substitutes out on the market where, I can still cook spaghetti for my meat eating friends when they come over, and I can put in the meat crumbles from Morningstar Farms. You can buy patties that are made out of soy protein. I cook with tofu. So I do a lot of cooking at home in North Carolina, and it's a treat for me to be here in LA. I've only been here a few days, and I've already been to Real Food Daily. I went to California Vegan. I went to Veggie Grill. So I love coming to places like this that are sort of more vegetarian-friendly cities, so to speak. And, hopefully Charlotte will catch up one day, and there'll be some vegetarian restaurants there as well.
it's too bad you're not out here longer. I know all of the vegan restaurants in LA. I think I've eaten at them multiple times, so I could show you some, or I can give you a list of some when you come out next time. I can show you around, or show you some vegan restaurants.
That would be fantastic. I actually just started a little page on my site where in my travels, I travel a lot, at speaking events and my racing stuff. And whenever I go to a city that has a vegetarian restaurant, I try and go visit it and do a little review about it. So, yeah, I'd love to get that list from you.
Yeah, very cool. So you started off as a biology major, and then you transitioned into race car driving, which most biology
Natural
majors,
fit.
yeah, exactly, natural fit. So how did that transpire?
Well, I started racing while I was in college. I went to some amateur car club races and I just really enjoyed it. I still got my biology degree. And then when I got out of college, I actually started working as a photo double and a stand in, an occasional stunt driver for Catherine Zeta Jones. And I saved up the money that I made working for her to go to a racing school. And it was kind of like a bucket list kind of thing, you know. I really wanted to try what it was like to drive a real race car and see how I could do. And it was just a real stroke of luck that there happened to be a NASCAR team owner that was there at the track from one of the local race teams. And he saw me drive, and he came up to me after I got out of the car and said, you know, I think you've got a lot of natural talent and some potential, and I think you should, you know, look into pursuing this as a career. To which I kind of laughed because, you know, I didn't have the kind of money it took to become a professional race car driver. But he pointed out to me that, you know, because I was a woman and there were very few women in the sport, that I might have a shot at raising the money. So I went out and got a sports marketing company, and it took me 9 months. I heard a lot of no's and had a lot of doors slam in my face. But 9 months later, I heard my first yes, and I ran my first race.
Did you feel guilty initially being a race car driver and being as eco-conscious as you are?
That's why I do my carbon offset program. That is why every time I sit in a race car, I adopt and protect an acre of rainforest to offset the carbon footprint of being in the car. You know, the message is none of us are perfect. Everybody's got a carbon footprint. We all drive our cars to work. I happen to be going at 200 miles an hour. But that's why I do the carbon offsetting. You know, offsetting is not a solution to everything, but when you have unavoidable emissions with your job, as many people do, flying on airplanes, you know, for me it's sitting in a race car. So I do the offset, and then in my private life I try and do everything I can, like, you know, being vegetarian and composting, recycling, and using solar, and supporting the kinds of companies that are caring about the earth.
Where are we in 2009 with eco and sustainable race cars?
That has come a long way, actually, recently. So when I first started talking about the environment, I definitely ruffled some feathers, you know, because it wasn't something that was really popular yet, I guess. It wasn't mainstream, especially not in the racing garage. But I've seen that change quite a bit. Actually, the EPA has a race program with the American Le Mans Series. It's called the Green Racing Challenge. So they've got cars that are all certified green race teams. I think the Corvette team runs on cellulosic ethanol from wood chips. I think the Audi team is running on like a clean biodiesel of some sort. So there's you know, things being done in the sports car racing industry. I'm not in that division, but I love seeing that happening. I know that there is a drag racing league that's completely electric. I think that's fantastic. I run in both open wheel cars in the Indy Light Series, which is a feeder division into IndyCar, as well as NASCAR. And I know that NASCAR last year has hired somebody who's the head of green innovation. So they're going to start doing some things to green over the sport. IndyCar is already running on 100% biofuel and have been for about 3 years now.
With all that you know about biofuels, cellulosic ethanol, as you said, and various forms of energy for cars, what would you say, based on your knowledge, is the most green energy source for a car?
You know, I think in different places it's going to be different things. For example, I ran in a rally across Norway last year, or actually no, it was the beginning of this year, and it was a zero emission rally. So I was actually driving a hydrogen fuel cell Ford Focus, and I actually, you know, drank the exhaust out of my car, because a hydrogen fuel cell car, the only exhaust is basically water and heat.
How did that taste?
It tasted just like water. I think it's deionized, so you don't want to drink a whole bunch of it. But I know that BMW is actually bottling their exhaust from their BMW Hydrogen 7. So I actually, when I was at the solar thermal farm, I got a bottle of water that just had a white label on it that said exhaust, and then in small letters, you know, it explained that it was from the Hydrogen 7 BMW car. And I'm sure they're reionizing it or making it so that it's okay to drink, obviously. You don't want to go to the back of a hydrogen car and drink a whole bunch of water, but I just drank a little bit to make a point that, you know, here is exhaust that's so clean that I can drink it.